What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader, and I am back in action. I've been out of town dealing with a family illness, and it's great to be back. I know that I haven't had a video in a long time. I'm going to go ahead and start off today's video talking about some recent announcements last week while I was out of town by Action Figure Authority. There's a number of interesting points came up in their October 2021 notice, and I've got some information on that and just crazy stuff, and I wanted to kind of show a few other things related to that. But anyway, thank you for your patience while I was out of town. I'm going to try and pump out quite a few videos the rest of this month, starting with some market updates for the vintage Kenner items as well as the Hasbro Vintage Collection. So we'll have those this week. I'll also announce the winner for the beautiful item that Jay Sullivan sent, which was the Disney Parks exclusive R2-D2 style witch figure. So you guys saw that video, and I'll pick a winner for that and let you guys know who won that one. And I also did pick up a 50th anniversary Tusken Raider from an Instagrammer that I'm going to give away on the channel, and I'll be sure to thank him formally in another video. But let's dig in. So this was AFA's announcement that came out last week while I was out of town, and they said they wanted to take this opportunity to announce that they are going to start grading factory sealed VHS tapes. So it seems like more and more of the grading companies are starting to add these kind of off-the-wall wacky items as they start to see sales prices for these that are just mind-blowing. And I'm going to show you some examples here in a little while. There's another company called IGS that grades these VHS sealed tapes, and the prices have just been completely insane. If I had known that sealed VHS tapes were going to be the next big thing, I would not have gotten rid of all mine. I had some just absolutely mint ones that were probably, I don't know, about 50 to 60 of them that I just threw away because at the time nobody wanted sealed VHS tapes. And this was probably, I don't know, 15 years ago or so, as Blu-ray and DVD and all that stuff was starting to take over. So big mistake on my part, because the prices on these sealed video VHS tapes have just gone through the roof. And I'll show you some examples of closed graded VHS sales here in a second that will just completely stagger you. But anyway, they are adding that line, and it's very similar to what CGC did by the starting to grade video games, because they've seen graded video games really take off here over the last year or so, as all graded collectibles seem to be going up astronomically in price. So that is going to be their new item, and there's some examples there. Let me just quickly show you a close-up of that so you can see what those graded VHS tapes are going to look like. So that's from AFA, and they're going to be competing directly with a company called IGS, and I'll show you some examples in a second. But the other big announcement that AFA had is that they're going to start going back to accepting loose graded toys for other vintage lines other than Star Wars. As you guys know in past videos, the only loose graded items that AFA has been grading lately has been Star Wars. And they have announced that they are going to be starting next month, or starting now, they're going to be grading Battlestar Galactica, Black Hole, Indiana Jones, Superpowers, and WWF. Now, they used to grade a lot of these figures loose graded, and then they stopped because of probably because it just slowed things down. But they're adding those back in to loose graded figures that they're now going to accept. They also said they plan on adding some more lines next month, so we'll stay tuned for that announcement. But for those of you with Battlestar Galactica, Black Hole, Indiana Jones, the DC Superpowers line, or WWF figures, if you have those and you want to get those graded, historically, or at least over the last few years, Collector Archive Services and UKG were really your only two options for grading those. Now AFA has announced that they're willing to accept those for grading. So that's interesting. The other big point that I wanted to talk about is that AFA has had a massive backlog of submissions. And they're happy to report that they've made significant progress in the last month, processing about 20% of the remaining Express and Economy tier submissions. A lot of those tiers have been frozen. They have not accepted anything as they work through their backlog. Well, they got 20% of those done. They also said that we anticipate that our current physical expansion will be completed by next week. So this is the following week. So sometime this coming week after this video releases, they're expecting to have their expansion done, and that's going to almost double their existing casing and grading areas. And their goal is to be operating under normal turnaround times by the end of this year. as they kind of build out that extra space. So for those of you with stuff in their backlog, that's good news. And it's also good news for those of you who have been waiting for those economy tiers to open back up to accept new items. Right now, it's only the really express, really fast tier that's extremely expensive that they're accepting stuff for. So that's really exciting. It says, we're also nearing final stages of designing and testing our new website to improve every facet of the customer experience. So they've talked many, many years about this and how they're going to improve it, but it looks like it's actually happening. They're going to be improving their ordering process, hopefully. Hopefully the population reports will be a little bit more up to date and things like that. So all that information is really interesting. The current delays are also mentioned here. The delays do not seem to have changed that much based on what they have here, but the receiving and invoicing, it's still 8 weeks from receipt within their warehouse to actually invoicing you. The express grading scale is still 5+ months beyond anticipated projected completion dates. Again, they're expecting by the end of the year to have that back at normal operating capacity, so we will see. Anyway, so again, AFA is moving over into graded VHS tapes, which is crazy to me, but the reason being is that there is a massive demand for it, and I wanted to show you really quickly. These are all sold items. I just pulled up the highest sales, and we can scroll down from there, but there's a company called IGS that has been grading for at least a couple of years now, sealed VHS tapes, and I just wanted to quickly show you some examples. But this is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with a 9 grade, and it's called investmentgrading.com is the company. And this one sold, best offer accepted, for $28,500, which is just crazy for a sealed VHS tape. Star Wars, this is only a 7.5, it says 8.5, 7.5 to 8.5, no UPC on the tape, and apparently that's a pretty rare variant, and that one sold for best offer accepted for $18,500, and you can see all of the rest of these prices into the 5 figures for a number of iconic 1980s movies. So here was one that was at auction. This was a Empire Strikes Back, no UPC, red label. 8.5 was the grade, and that one sold for $8,320 on 27 bids. So people have just gone nuts for these sealed, graded VHS tapes. And so if you have some of those and you want to send them to AFA, it's probably a good idea based on what the prices are doing for some of these. And I anticipate that with AFA entering this market, that they're going to steal market share from investmentgrading.com, I would think fairly quickly. AFA just has I've never heard of investmentgrading.com until I started looking at these VHS tapes, but given that they were the only company in town really doing it, I expect that AFA to cut into their market share pretty quickly for that. So anyway, I just thought there was just some interesting information between this VHS line that they're going to start grading, as well as the new loose toys, loose toy lines that they're adding back into loose grading over at AFA, and apparently some new items are going to be added to that next month. So most importantly, for those of you with Star Wars items, which is probably the main reason you watch this channel, is that if you have some you've been waiting to send to AFA, it sounds like the wait is almost over for them to get back to normal. Anyway, thank you so much for your patience while I was out of town, and I'll try to pump out quite a few videos here this week with both market updates as well. I've got some really nice items that are on the way here, both vintage collection and vintage, that should be here over the next week or so that we'll take a closer look at. And I just want to say thanks for all the support and for all the kind messages that I received by private message, both on Instagram as well as my Patreon supporters. So thanks again, and I'll be back soon.